All right. I guess we okay.
Cool.
All right. First of all, I guess
On
since
air yet?
we not.
Nah. Okay, not is. I just got it right now.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, man, I want to thank you for this invitation, man. I sent you to do this hangout. You know, I just started my channel a week ago, so a little over a week, maybe about 10 days.
Uh huh.
So I'm just kind of new to this thing, man, and I appreciate the opportunity. Um, I guess what prompted it, and I'm doing this for people that's may come watch this video later. What prompted it? I forget that gentleman's name that you
New
were.
possibilities.
That's it. And he basically
Yeah.
just went in on Booker T. Washington. And, I went to Tuskegee, so I took that personal. Now, I just felt like the whole point of going in on someone like Booker T. Washington, calling him a coon, and I'm just kind of tired of it. I'm not insulting new possibilities. I don't know. I've never watched any of his videos except that one, well, this little subject. So I don't know how the brother is. I don't. So anything I say moving forward, I ain't really dogging him. I'm just saying I feel like this whole coon label that we give to people that think a certain way, or not even say a certain way, just people that entertain something that may seem it may be a chess move. Because it seems like to me, black people don't want you to play chess. It's like they want you to just play checkers. You can only think straight what looks good on the surface. What is, you can only think 1 to 2 steps ahead. You can't think 6 steps ahead, because if you do, then you're cold. Because
Exactly.
with Booker T. Washington, I mean, if you really know the full story of Booker T, he wasn't a coon. He was nothing even remotely close to a coon, and
It,
he was just intelligent, and he knew. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Had a rough day, but he was intelligent, and he knew. Look, there's no need in me trying to go out here and get them to relinquish power and the reins, so to speak, of getting, being, allowing black people into certain areas. So let's just pull back and build our power, wealth, and influence later. Build the power, build the wealth. It's just like, we've seen the documentary thing with Dr. Claude Anderson, where he said your first level
exactly.
is your money. Your second level, you control the business and the economy. Then you start moving the politicians. Then you and
Like
that.
Booker
Go ahead.
T
I'm sorry.
was the he was Dr. Claude Anderson was the modern day Booker T. Washington, in my opinion. In my opinion,
I mean, yeah, I think so too. I think it's just that we don't think that far ahead. We Dr. Claude Anderson. Well, I think Dr. Claude Anderson is kind of clear now, because we're in the midst of what we thought was going to be the greatest thing in integration, and now we see. And so we like, man, that wasn't a good idea. Like the guy New Possibilities made a point, which I thought was like amazing, because I didn't think anybody thought that was a good thing. Was he said, well, we didn't have any politicians, and now we got all these politicians in office. That's because we went and we didn't listen to Booker T. Washington. And I'm sitting saying to myself, dude, like that's not a good thing. We had, what is it? I think Dr. Claude said we had 350 in 1961, on the eve of the civil rights movement, 350 black elected officials throughout the nation. And now we're at like 4,500, somewhere near approaching 5,000. And look at us. We're probably worse off.
the only
And
people who are winning are the politicians
I mean, that's
themselves.
it. That's it. That's it. And one point he made also that I thought was kind of wild, because it's almost like he's ignoring a lot of factors and just looking at something, and kind of to make your point, you just add one little small snippet and say, well, look at what did he say? He was like, all these people are in these positions, and all of these, the black people have higher incomes, and black people have, the middle class grew, and if you know history and you understand certain economics, had we didn't listen to Booker T. So it's kind of like we didn't listen to Booker T. We didn't implement the principles that he was really pushing for. We kept begging, in my opinion,
Exactly.
to be part of their society, begging. And I'm a little radical. If a person doesn't want to sell me something, I really, quite frankly, don't give a damn. If because it's kind of like a highway. If you're riding down a highway, right, you got a 2-lane highway, or well, you got 2 lanes and you're going in a certain direction down the road, right? And you got 1 lane and one guy's blocking that lane. So that guy slides over and gets in the slow lane. Somebody's gonna jump in that fast lane and go by and speed on by everybody. And when it comes to capitalism, not serve black people, you're creating a vacuum and an opportunity for that will be serviced by someone. Case in point, before the legalization of marijuana, a lot of brothers in certain states like California, I'm sure they were selling a lot more weed than they're probably able to sell now. I know that's not a good analogy, but I'm just saying, when you allow companies to serve who they would like to serve, and if white people didn't want to serve black people, I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that can help us in a sense
Because it created a market. It created a market.
Yeah, and that's, because basically people talk about black people just went to these white businesses. It wasn't that. We really got out marketed. We didn't have the funding. It wasn't that black people like, I want to go to the white business because it's better. No, they went to the white business because they got out marketed. And yeah, it was
Exactly.
better. It wasn't that they were saying it was better because it was white owned. They wanted to go because, well, try to compare a mom and pop corner store to Walmart, or
Exactly.
it's not even close.
I'm
But had
hearing
we
an
left,
echo on your end. Is it do you have your speakers on, or do you have on headphones?
I got on headphones.
Oh, okay.
Let me
Well, maybe it's
hold on.
just no. It's probably.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you perfect.
Does it have an echo
I just,
now?
I just, I hear myself echoing in the back. I don't know what that is, and it could be because the sound is relaying on. It just went away.
You did.
Yeah, yeah. I think it just went away.
Well, I just take the headphones out. But that was it, man. I guess that's kind of an introduction. Can you break down what you were really trying to convey in that video with brother New Possibilities?
Well, yeah, like 2 things. For one, when you look at the statistical data, middle class now, yeah, a lot of people, a lot of black people like to tout black people in the middle class, more black people in the middle class. But what they don't understand is the middle class, the definition is kind of like people have moved into what we call the quote unquote middle class. And then when you extrapolate that across each spectrum and each group, you'll find that the middle family for black people is about our median wealth is about $1,700 when you subtract the family car. Okay, so and then when you juxtapose that to the typical white family, you're looking at 100 grand plus. The middle family, this is not like the ultra rich or people who are doing well off. I mean, these are people who may or may not be college educated, and they're still sitting on about 100 grand or better, opposed to the average middle black family, which is only about $1,700. Now, what makes it dramatic is, and these are people who would be considered middle class. But if these people were to stop working for like 1 week or two, they'd be right in the poorhouse. Because I mean, if you only have a $1,700 in median wealth, then you're not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily consider that person truly middle class, because you're not in a wealth position. If you know you're living paycheck to paycheck, and you're not in a position of economic stability, in my opinion, for one point. Also, what I've noticed about black folk, um, and and I do a lot of uh, commentary on like IQ differences and different things like that nature. And one thing that people have linked to people with lower IQ is inability to delay instant gratification. Now, when you look at a delay of not being able to delay gratification, you run into a whole host of problems. And you said when about the chess moves and the checker moves, right? Now, the person who has a who has less of an ability to delay gratification, they're not going to understand chess. They're going to only understand checkers. Now, because they can't see 6, 7, 8 moves down the line. That's why I were able to truly grasp the importance of what Booker T. Washington was actually doing. So I say that to say this. What we tend to lean more towards are people who rabble rouse and people who give us instant emotional escapism. So we tend to, the leaders that black people tend to prefer are the ones who rabble rouse, meaning they can talk loud, they say crazy stuff like the white cracker, kill the babies, they say all of these things to get us riled up emotionally. They give us that instant feeling of getting something accomplished, but through words, kind of. And what you find is when you go to people, when you're around people of higher IQs, they tend to not be as moved by rousing speeches, because they tend to listen more for substance opposed to rabble rousing and and saying what emotionally connects to the people. I mean, they tend to not necessarily need all of the escapism in a speech in order for them to like it. They tend to listen for things like deadlines. They tend to want to hear things like price projections. They tend to want to hear things like an estimated time of finish, an execution. How are you going to get it done? Where are the funds going to come from? The boring stuff that'll probably put the average crowd to sleep that have an IQ less than maybe 90. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
yeah, I wanted to ask something because before I actually came upon your channel, there was a book I read by Malcolm Gladwell called The Outliers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Real great book. I actually, when I was on my own channel today and I listened to my actual video and I said something about the book that was incorrect. I said that the book talked about how people with higher IQs or they control their emotions and their emotional intelligence. It alludes to that, but primarily it just talks about opportunity of people with higher. I mean, you because the guy it really throughout the book it talks about the guy with the highest IQ. Yeah, I guess on record it's like 190 something IQ, and this guy talks about his life and how his life was sent on a spiral because of just certain points where his brother ruined his car, or he had a teacher that was an a-hole and flunked him and got an F and flunked out of school. And now he's writing things on quantum physics and space in the space-time continuum, but no one will take him serious because he doesn't have a doctorate. He hasn't been vetted, so to speak. So he's kind of in limbo. And but I'm saying all that to basically say this. When it comes to black people, it's kind of a circular thing. I think that the factors that affect IQ among emotional intelligence, which is one that we really don't talk about. Most people talk about IQ. But your EQ, you can have someone with an IQ of like, let's say 110. and you can have a guy with an IQ of 150. Both of them are not stupid, but the guy with the 110 has an emotional intelligence. He knows how to control his emotions. He's motivated, which is a big part of success.
Oh
He
yeah.
knows he's aware of his own emotions at certain key points. So he knows how to, okay, I'm angry, let me calm down. That is different. Whereas you can have a guy like Felix the Cat Mitchell or some of these guys that were on Black, what is it, American Gangster, with IQs off the charts, but then they're a hothead. They don't
Hmm.
control their emotions very well, and their life gets sent down a whole different path. Because really, to me, the IQ is really just a measure of your cognitive abilities more so than
Exactly.
your depth of knowledge. I know it's a certain subject I may know a ton of information about. Doesn't mean I'm gonna do well on the IQ test.
Exactly. Exactly. You're right. And you're 100%. I look at IQ from more so of, I guess, intellectual capacity and the things that it correlates with. Like I look more so at the correlations than I do the actual IQ, because I don't even think that you need a high IQ to necessarily be successful. Like you have with lower IQs as a country like Iran, like India, that do better because they tend to defer to the higher IQ people to run things. So what I find in Black society is we tend to try to cater to the dumbest person in the room opposed to the smartest person in the room. We're more apt to call the smartest person a coon or a sellout, or we'll ostracize the smartest person, and then we'll gravitate to the person who either makes us feel good emotionally. Typically it's a person who's good at making us feel good. They have very high social IQ, or they can rouse people up. Like we like to hear loud curse words. We like to hear just anything that kind of just wraps us up in emotion. You know what I mean? Like that like the preachers, the Barack Obama speeches, anything like that. And typically when you're doing something like that, the best way to exploit a people in our particular condition is you sell them the narrative that, for one, it's not your fault, for one. And most people, not just Black people, any group of people, if you can scapegoat one group to another group, and assuage them of any responsibility, typically the people are going to gravitate to that ideal because it assuages them of all guilt and responsibility, and we get to find a particular bad guy. Now, how they use Black people in this particular situation is they exploit our natural shortcomings. Like we have natural shortcomings, like we're not as entrepreneurial. Like, so we tend to not gravitate to things that deal with entrepreneurship. We tend not to have the highest test scores in the country. We also tend to not have the safest neighborhoods, right? So because of that, all it takes is some really good orator that can come and say, okay, well, all of this stuff is not your fault. It's really somebody else's fault. When in reality, because, like, case in point, I went to a place this morning. I don't know if you ever heard of the Breakfast Club in Houston. They basically sell like chicken and waffles. I mean, some of the best food you could ever. I mean, they got all kind of awards.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
You heard of it? All of the big politicians have been to this place, and it's owned by a Black dude. That I know that went to TSU. I mean, this guy went to HBCU. Uh, he started a company, not just this one. He also got another one called Reggae Hut, and then he started one behind Breakfast Club. It has like a bar. They open up at club hours, and they sell breakfast and drinks. And this place is packed every single day. White folks, black folks, Chinese folk. I mean, you can see any, any racial group. Everybody comes to this place. They
That
won
sounds
awards.
like a lot of places here in Atlanta. Like that's why I love Houston too. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
And this guy, black owned. This guy, honest guy. He doesn't flash. If you walked in there, you wouldn't even know he was the owner. You know what I mean? Younger guy, probably like in his 30s, late 30s or so. And so I'm saying that to say this. If we had more of him, we just have more successful people. We just don't have him. He's an anomaly to say the least in Houston. Now, I'm not saying that black folks don't own businesses that own businesses in Houston, but it's not enough of us. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, it's not that black folks don't want to shop with black folks. That's not true. I think if black folks delivered a high quality product, black folks would shop with them. Not just black folks. Asian people would shop with them. White people would shop with them.
Okay.
Matter of fact.
But hold on. Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay.
Because I agree with you wholeheartedly. But what someone listening to this would probably say is, well, many times black businesses are underfunded, and therein lies the issue because they can't really bring the same level of service that their white counterparts can because they just don't have the same funding. And what would you?
I would say that you have to get the right level of funding. You see, the thing about it is, I think black folks have been conditioned to failure so much. And the funny thing is, like I just left a meeting not long ago, and we were talking about the failure rate of mostly all businesses, not just black businesses. I mean, most businesses fail, and most of them fail for the same reason: lack of capital, lack of financial discipline. Most people that start businesses, they start them on a whim. They don't have the capital. You know what I mean? Like, I take myself for an example. You know what I mean? And just to put, just to put out the information. But anyway, I'm a person who I would believe I'm probably percentile or 95 percentile in terms of the way I budget. Like, I only live on probably sometimes half of income. And the thing about it is, people who are disciplined enough to do that, better business owners. But what happens is a lot of people get into business and they're quitting a job and they don't really have the funds to even invest in a job, and they wing it. And the thing about it is, you don't wing a business. You go into a business prepared. You study the business. You take your time with the business, and you over prepare yourself financially to be able to take that dive. Those people who are able to do that tend to be more successful.
I wanted to throw one thing in there also.
Mm-hmm.
I know you read a lot of Thomas Sowell. I think it was it Black Rednecks? I think that's the name.
Yeah, I've read that book.
In that book, he talks about the Jews. He calls them a middleman culture.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about how they, around the turn of the century, where they were and what they did, the steps that they took.
Mm-hmm.
And I read this book, I don't know, it was probably about 5-6 years ago. So I'm going off some old memory. But I think one of the things he talked about was they were peddlers.
Mm-hmm.
They literally, I think, and the Bible says, despise not humble beginnings. A lot of times you can start a business very, very cheaply and small, but we don't want to start those kinds of businesses.
Exactly.
We want to go for, I want to get a Subway franchise, or I want to get a Quiznos, or I want to get, I want to own. I'm like, okay, how do you get there? What's the first step? And then we start all the way. You kind of walk yourself back to what can I do for $5,000 or less. And then if you can't save up $5,000, you're probably not going to be a good businessman.
Exactly.
So, and then if you can't get your hands on $5,000, but you can get your hands on $5,000 for a wedding, honeymoon. I see black people get their hands on $5,000 for rims, bail to get themselves out of jail. people can get their hands on some money when it's time. When it's time. So that to me is one of the most telling things about us. And I guess to kind of bring it back home, you can, just so when you talked about the emotion and you said that people with lower IQs tend to not won't be able to play chess, they can only play checkers. Then when you go back and look at Booker T. Washington and you look at his message, that was a chess move. It
Exactly.
wasn't. And so W.E.B. Du Bois, and I respect him, but there he has some shortcomings because he was very eloquent, he was polished, just like you said, great orator. He could speak. He went to Harvard College, as they called it back then, and he was first guy. He came out. He was one of the most. He was the elite of the elite, and near the end of his life, he was just like bitter in Africa, just like when people in Africa, he said, I heard it said when they would call Booker T a coon, he would get on to him like, don't do that. They would go in on Booker T, but I think back then they used Uncle Tom probably more so or whatever. He was like, no, don't call him that, because he understood. I think at the end that he probably, because he got better near the end of his life. A lot of people don't talk about that. They talk about
Exactly.
W.B. Du Bois and only what the things he said, but they don't talk about how it ended. So by the end of his life, he was like, man, that talented 10th, where we, like Dr. Boyce talks about infiltrating white society, getting jobs in white-owned businesses and organizations, isn't success. People, when you hear a black woman say, I'm a successful, first question you have to ask, okay, what is successful? I'm a school teacher, or I make 75,000. We still 75 is a good income, especially among black. But if you're working for Procter and Gamble or some white-owned organization or corporation, you don't really have any power. You really don't.
Exactly. And that's what it's that's what's so scary about it, because it's like I believe if we would have listened to Booker T. Washington, it's, let's just say, if we just stuck to agriculture or manufacturing, that would have been something that we dominated. And when it came time to integrate, we would have had not only a seat at the table, but a welcoming seat at the table when integration came. And not only would we come into a situation with power and real value, then we also have financial wealth behind it. And we'd have a skill set that probably would be unique to us, that we can only do. It's kind of like, when you build houses, you're going to go and you're going to see Hispanics building on those houses, because they've acquired the skill sets as a group. And to me, that's how you corner a market. You know what I mean? Because it's like, Donald Trump probably going to get rid of a lot of, illegals. But at the end of the day, many of these houses won't get built without those people. You know what I'm saying? And to me, that is power. That's power, because they have a skill set that most Americans have just forgotten.
Well, let
or
me say
just don't
this
you
right
do.
here. When you speak to construction, I was raised around that industry. My dad was a painter. God rest his soul. He painted up until the time he died of kidney cancer. And he pretty much, when I was a kid, when I was a toddler, I used to go to these construction sites. It was all black men.
Wow.
Laying this concrete. It was all black men doing the framing. And a lot of the jokes they told, I still remember some of the jokes these guys told. I would see some of these guys, they would call me Little Bill. Something like the cartoon. They used to joke on me or whatever. And it was just, at the end of the day, as I sit and think about it, I'm just like, wow, these guys were really. It was a black owned, it was a black ran, like business, and now it's sad because in anywhere you go in Alabama, I'm originally from Montgomery, but if you go to Birmingham, I'm up here in Atlanta near Buford Highway. Anywhere in Atlanta you go, if you see construction framing, they're Mexican.
Yeah.
And I was a flipper. I flipped houses full time for years, and yeah, I knew a little Spanish and stuff, and I used to say little things to them in Spanish. And believe me, they don't like us, man. They would say certain things, not knowing I knew. I actually caught a couple of them a few times saying some things, and they would start trying to speak funny because they once word got out, oh, that guy's no Spanish, and I would speak to them and he say, nice to meet you, and they would just ignore me. It was there was some a holes, and these guys weren't charging. They weren't cheap. Like I didn't, at first there were certain Mexicans that when they first get here, you can get them for cheap. But then as time went on, their prices equaled out to what black people charge, and even some white people. And I think there's a lot of myths about Mexicans that they're benefiting from, as far as we think they're over here picking fruit, and black people are more so that they're in as the chess versus checkers. We actually campaign for these people to be here. We want these people here, and then we give these mythological excuses like, well, I mean, they're doing jobs black people don't want to do. Bull. You telling me it's not a lot of brothers out here that don't want to do construction jobs when you got in certain cities almost 50% of black men are unemployed?
Exactly.
You telling me that these brothers wouldn't do construction if you talking about $15 an hour? They wouldn't do it.
Exactly. And the funny
Come
thing is, a
on.
lot of people think these Mexicans are getting pennies, and they're not, man. A lot of these people are building legitimate businesses doing landscaping. I mean, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. A lot of these people that are doing construction are making a killing, man. They're not just getting pennies. People think they're getting pennies, but they may be working on 4 or 5 jobs. You know
You
what I
know what?
mean?
They're
Making
kind of like that white guy that dates the white woman and he's all lovey-dovey and romantic. He's already figured his game plan out. He's coming into that situation like what they do when they say this white guy treats me like an angel. Most of the time when you see that, what he's doing is he understands of the black and white dynamic. I mean, black relationship dynamic. He sees what it is. So when you look at these Mexicans, they know that okay, I'm gonna come into this market. I'm gonna outprice the black. I'm gonna outprice the black guy. I'm gonna come in. He's doing it for 50. I'm gonna charge 35. Because it's 6, 7 of us living. See, the most powerful thing that I think you said a few minutes ago, they're living on a budget. They got 6 or 7 grown ass men living in the same house. They cook every day. They probably per week expend $40 in food, gas, everything each. And you telling me you got 6 or 7 people paying $1,000 a month and that's it? And the rest of their money is saved. These guys have thousands. I personally employed 3 Mexicans for some years, for like 2 years. They would cook their dinner right there on the spot, like their lunch. They would bring their lunch, make a fire. They used to do stuff that I would joke about it. I'd be like, damn, I left one day and went to the gym and came back. And I saw a fire sitting. I said, what happened over here? Oh, that was Valente. He went and cooked him they cooked some chicken, man. I was like, they cooked the chicken right here? Yeah. Like they're very economical. They don't have all this pride of I ain't finna do that. I don't want to share. I don't want to. I think some black people probably adopt that 6 or 7 living in the same house. I think that would help. I mean, I know we're not built for that. We like our privacy, but
I mean, I think you built for whatever you willing at the end of the day, success is not free. It's not easy. In head start, you have to be willing to do some things, and I think we're just not willing to do things. A lot of it is because we live vicariously through our celebrities. I think black people, a lot of our pride comes from the fact that we think black folks are doing collectively better than we actually are, because in reality, most of our high earners, extremely high earners, are on TV. Now that's like a blessing and a curse, because when most of your high earners are on TV, most people assume that black folk are all right. Even black folks believe that black folks are all right, because we see most of our most successful people on TV every single day. So as a result of that, it's almost like that's the reason why black folks a lot of times are so offended when when the Chinese people discriminate against us at the store. You know, when we walk in and we're thinking, like, why are you discriminating against me when Barack Obama is the president? But what we know that Barack Obama is the president. We look at Michael Jordan all the time. A lot of these Chinese people don't even look at TV like that. They're reading. So the only black folks that they come in contact with or that they see are the ones that come right to their store, the ones that they deal with on a daily basis. And the ones that they deal with on a daily basis are stealing from the stores. They are, running in there with guns, with 45s and playing stick-up kid. They are actually going in, getting into fights and doing different things in their store. So because we're looking at it from the view of, damn, like, don't she know that Oprah is a billionaire? Why are you discriminating against me? We don't see ourselves from a true lens. We're looking at a falsified lens. And when you really look at the numbers, black women with college degrees, most of them have a negative $11,000 net worth. Black women without college degrees have a net worth of around $5. The middle income black family, I'm talking about like the middle class, the ones that you see in the nice houses with the nice car, and you think that everything is all good, 17. Now, these are the same people that go to church with you, they drive that Cadillac, they look like they got it all going good, and they got them a nice little house in the suburbs. $1,700 is in their bank account at any given time. And that's the middle, right? So the thing of, and that same middle family that's on the same middle level as that black family is worth over 100,000. Now let's think about that. Now you got black folk who look normal, look good, do all these, like regular, we live just like everybody else. And on top of that, another thing that's real scary from the stats, they say that for every $1 raise that black folks get at a job, it becomes a negative $6. It becomes 60 cents. So for every $1 raise we get, it becomes basically 60 cents. And for every $1 raise that white folks get, it becomes $5 to $6. Now think about that. So for every $1 raise, we get a negative return of 40 cents. Right. So that means we're going out for every dollar that we get. That's why I get so pissed off when I hear this $2.2 trillion spending fee that black people, a lot of people don't understand that figure. And it really pisses me off when people say it, because the thing about it is what they're factoring into that figure is credit purchasing power, not necessarily real money liquid cash that we have. That encompasses, being able to go and buy a house, being able to go and finance a car, being able to go and, go.
But isn't that the thing that I think Dr. Claude destroyed when he made the point about that is nothing to brag about. They say they call consumption in the 50s. They called like tuberculosis was referred to as consumption because it's what you consume. He said the crackhead does not have the power. It's the dope dealer that sells the crackhead the crack. So why are we boasting on what we consume? I consume so you talking about your light, gas, water, rent, food. You can't do anything with that. You're not, and even the money that you're consuming and spending in strip clubs and doing dumb things with, we're not going to stop. So it's kind of like it's pointless to bring that up when you really break it down to its purest form. It's nothing that we can boast on. I mean, that's just that.
Exactly. And it's getting worse because our family dynamics are getting worse. We're not, because most of that wealth that whites even have, it's not that they're necessarily creating new wealth. A lot of it is transferable wealth that's passed down through probates. So these people are basically, they have a family, the wife, the husband, they come together, they buy a house, and then they pass that house down to the next generation. The next family, either the next generation either sells that house or they keep the house, and and that's one expense that they don't have to worry about.
Now, liken that to them calling Steve Harvey a coon for trying to work with housing and urban development to create more home ownership within the Black community, and he's a coon for just sitting and talking to the president.
Well, see, that goes back to IQ. You see what I'm saying? Like, see, only somebody who's not that smart would not want your people of your persuasion or race or whatever you want to, people who have Black folks' interests at heart. Only people that are not that smart would think that meeting with one of the most powerful men in the world, with essentially most of America's resources at his fingertip, at the swing of a pen, like, only people who are not that smart would think meeting with him is a bad idea. You understand what I'm saying? And
their whole objection was really just optics. They were saying that, well, it's just total op for him. You just really, you're being a lapdog for him. Okay, so let's say that he is. It's optical, because I made a point in one of my videos. Everybody went in on Jim Brown, right? He bought Jim Brown. Jim Brown, I can't believe Jim Brown sold out like that. I said, okay. I don't see these celebrities writing Jim Brown a check. I don't.
Exactly.
I think Jim Brown was very smart. He went in just like Booker T. He said the right things. Not Jim Brown got a check. Jim Brown can really affect some real change in the Black community now. That some of these Black organizations, some of these Black people that are dogging out, like even the HBCUs. I'm from Alabama. Talladega College got invited to the inauguration. I think they were going back and forth. I don't know if they ever went. Now he's in there with Omarosa, and they're contemplating writing checks to HBCUs, which is something Barack Obama never did. Now, if he writes a check to HBCUs, this will be the first time in probably 40 years that somebody has specifically done a program that's good for Blacks. Besides the prison industrial, of course, but that was different. But this will be the first time since when they initially started affirmative action, it was really supposed to be for Blacks, but that's another story. But this will be the first time that somebody specifically targeted Black people.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, he ran, it was a promises. I mean, he really laid out a 10-point plan for Black America. I mean, what president has laid out a 10-point plan for specifically Black America in recent history? I mean, who's done this other than probably Lyndon B. Johnson? Lyndon B. Johnson laid out a plan, but what he laid out did help Black folk, because it was a welfare program. We didn't need welfare. We need economic development. We need safe neighborhoods in order to be able to foster economic development. You know what I mean? And another thing I feel like we need is, I personally think the only way we're going to get a head start, my personal opinion, I think we're going to have to get serious and get things under control. I think that's going to the quintessential piece to our success. I think if we can get to the point to where we're arranging marriages, I say this over and over, arranging marriages specifically and physical prowess. We don't need to lose that gene. I mean, those genes, we need to keep our physical dominance, because, we still control most sports and different things like that. And I think, what's wrong with that? We need to keep that, and we need to mate for like I said, high IQ and physical prowess.
Let me ask you that. Let me ask you that. Because I have a son, right?
Mm-hmm.
His mother she has she has a job. She makes about in mid-80s, right? Doing pretty good. Mm-hmm. She's very sharp, very polished, she's very well spoken. I don't know her IQ. I don't. But I'm looking at those factors and I'm saying, well, man, I chose well in that regard.
Oh yeah.
But I can, I mean, that's something I'm looking at, and I'm saying, okay, well, maybe, because I actually, when I first heard of your channel, it was through O'Shea. You guys did a hangout, and I was like, man, this brother, I like the points he's making. One of my favorite videos was the Hasidic Jew video, which basically outlined how, how they pick their mates. And I was just amazed when I saw these 20, 30-year-old guys all bunched up in an apartment because they're rejects. I was like, this is culture. Now, only a culture can do that. We
Exactly.
can't do that. Black people can't do that. I've heard it said that the Nation of Islam does arrange marriages and pick people. I don't know, but from what I'm being told, that's something that is necessary. I think we really need to start looking at those criteria and say, okay, well, I'm gonna mate with someone like the sister Chrissy, for example. She says she doesn't want any kids, but I think
It,
she would make great. She has the DNA to probably really, spurn out some real geniuses.
oh
Just
yeah,
from listening to this sister talk on the internet, I'm like, she's the person that needs to be putting out some kids, not on Quita in the hood.
exactly. I tell her that all the time. Every time I can write a comment, I tell her, I let her know, and I've donated to her. I donated to her deal. See, she needs to be having 4 and 5 babies. Chrissy needs 4 and 5 babies from a high IQ brother, and women like that need to be having. Cause see, what's happening is, this is what's going to happen, and this is my fear. What I fear is that what's going to happen as this racial, as we get more and more racial harmony. I think right now people are probably thinking that we're in a racial decline. I don't think so. I think what's happening is we're getting to truly know each other more, and we're hashing out differences, and it's a tumultuous time now, but I think what's going to come of it is going to be a higher level of consciousness of racial harmony, not disharmony. I don't think we're going backwards. A lot of people think we're going backwards. I don't think so. I think Black folks are understanding white folks. White folks are starting to understand Black folks, and we're saying, okay, I see your deficiencies here. That, okay, now how are you going to accept mine? And we're kind of having that battle right now. But I see what's going to emerge from this is going to be a high level of racial harmony. Now, this is good and bad. It's good in a sense where America will benefit from this temporary upheaval, and then the mending together afterwards. America will benefit, but I don't feel like Black folk will. What I think is going to happen, unfortunately, is the higher IQ Blacks are going to matriculate into a world where the other higher IQ people are. And the most of the higher IQ people right now tend to be in the Asian and the white community. Now, the problem with that is when those Blacks mate with those whites and they make those biracial babies that are probably going to be higher IQ as well, what's going to happen is those babies that they spawn are not going to necessarily come back to the Black community. The newer biracial kids are not going to marry Black. See, in the 60s, in the 70s, biracial kids naturally made it back to Black. So we were able to kind of like expand our population growth. But I don't think the in the 21st century that these biracials are going to be date biracial, or they're going to date white or something else, because
And
they're not going to.
that's what I alluded to a second ago when I was talking about the white male. Right now, if you cut your television on, the commercials, the TV shows is really pushing for white men to come into the Black community and be that white knight, come in and, and it's a facade, because if you look at the statistics, they end in divorce just as many times. You're no more likely to succeed in marriage if a Black woman marries a white man. It's just as bad. But
Well, actually, the stats right now, the stats say that they are. They do have good long-term marriage rates. They really do. Matter of fact, black women and white men have higher marriage rates, lower divorce rates than white men and white women. That's what the facts say. Um, and I think I know why. I think I know why. Like, I think it's because, you know, black women and white men, to me, kind of, um, you know, I could just see, I could see how it can work, because black women I think right now they're more apt to take a relationship serious, um, and white men take relationships serious. I think white women are less apt to take relationships as black women will, because black women look at this as like an opportunity of a lifetime, opposed to like a white chick who would probably be like, yeah, I can take it or leave it. Like, I'll figure out another way to get it done regardless. Um, so it's unfortunate that
Well, I
is the
mean,
real.
but it does. It really kind of. And I admitted this the other day when you heard me first time. I was on her hangout, and I said it does kind of rub me the wrong way when I see a quality sister with a white guy. It does. I don't like that. I'm just being straight up. As a black man, that I see a nice, fine Serena type body with a white, I'm like, oh, why did you waste it? You know,
Yeah,
that's just real. You know, why did you
yeah,
waste all that ass with this white boy? You know, but at the end of the day, it's like, damn, you know, they got. It's kind of like when you go overseas. I've been all over the world. I've been to like a bunch of different countries. When I go to Dominican Republic, Brazil, when I was in Africa, the white man is kind of like that apex predator. He can, like, if you're black and you're American and you go overseas, yes, you're special. You know, you get a lot of attention. You know, but when that white man comes around, they have a chip in them. It's like a Willie Lynch chip. It's just they're programmed. Oh man, he's white, and this white boy could be living out of a backpack. I mean, I've seen some grimy white boys go over to like Ethiopia and just pick off all the women. And you could
wow.
be over there in a three-piece suit. You can have, you know, a couple of $100,000 in your bank account. You could be. They still think that they're going to be better off with that white boy than with you.
But it's track record. It's track record. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's, you know, I think we have to, you know, we can't look at it like it's track record. They have a track record of success. And what that means for them is they get to get the benefit of the doubt. Not because they're great, but it's because we've seen consistently them conquer, control, and dominate every place that they've been in. And not just black men have seen it, but especially black women have seen it. And at the end of the day, you know, women are hypergamous, man. They're not loyal, man. I think black women are probably more loyal than other women. You got to understand, Asian women prefer, if you look at the poll, I mean, the stats, man, Asian women actually prefer white men over Asian men. They're the highest group of interracial daters.
That's really kind of that's really kind of jacked up. I mean, if your women would rather procreate with another race than you, that's kind of messed up. One thing I do, that's why I'm one of the few brothers on the internet. I try to defend sisters because I appreciate the loyalty. Now it may be out of whatever the reason it may be. You don't have to get into. But that's because don't nobody want you. Okay, whatever. At least they are leaning toward wanting to be with a black man. And I myself don't find any other race of women attractive as a black woman. Even what you like about the Latino women in most of these Latin countries, they're basically mixed with slaves. So
Oh yeah.
Brazil is pretty much an African nation. It's over 50% black. Colombia, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. All of these are nations that were mixed with African slaves. So the physicality of the Latin woman comes from the West African diaspora.
And I'm glad you brought up Brazil, because Brazil is essentially what America would look like whenever matriculation begins to happen. Because what's going to happen is the higher IQ blacks are going to start mating with the higher IQ whites, and they're going to make babies. And then we're still going to see in wealth. They're going to, the difference is going to be the blacks are going to get poorer. because only the lower IQ blacks are gonna make with with other blacks, because it's just what's gonna happen. And then the unless we catch a hold of it and start arranging marriages. But if we don't catch a hold of this thing and start arranging marriages, allowing women to have completely free sexual access and freedom, I don't believe period should have sexual freedom. I don't believe that.
You know what? I saw that hangout you did, and I'm gonna tell you something, man. I'm gonna tell you something. I think you know who that you were on.
Mm-hmm.
She was feeling it, man. The only thing, and I think women a lot of times people don't want to hear this shit. Women really want men to be assertive. They like if a man comes and he has a plan and he's well thought out and he knows what he's talking about, even though he may be wrong. If he's smart, they'll fall in line, man. And I think when you were saying that, they were with you until that last part where you said, "Well, men don't have to do nothing." And I think this is something that we talked about a while ago when we talked on the phone.
You say men don't have to do nothing, or
yeah, when you said men don't have to really don't have anything to do. We just need to get our women to be more chaste. And I say both parties.
No, the O'Shea said, I think O'Shea said, what did he say? They can't. Well, I don't know. I forget. But yeah, but finish your point.
No, I'm just saying. I just feel like black women, as well as black men, both need to be chaste. Like we need to make it popular that you value your seed as a black man, and you don't just, because you got to look at a black man. And Tariq made this point. Tariq Nasheed, he's like a woman. A guy have sex with a woman, he's just getting a few seconds of pleasure when he get that orgasm. But that woman, for the next 18 to 20 years, can be basically taken care of once she has that child. So black men do need to understand that your seed is worth something. And one thing you said about religion, you said religion does bring that aspect. We need to understand that your seed is important, and you can't just drop it on a stripper. From you're a professional athlete, and I know I live in Atlanta. I used to go to Magic City all the time back in the day, and I'd be in there and I see who's who from NFL and NBA players. I'd be dapping them up. What's up, man? Come to find, I read an article. This dude done popped the baby out. Some of those players in Atlanta popping babies out by strippers, and I'm just like, I know that chick, man. Why did you? Idris Elba, I think he got one, with a stripper, from what I hear. Like it's just, and it's like you guys don't value your wealth. You don't value. That's why when you cut the TV on, you see these reality shows. These are the chicks that trap these guys by having babies by them, and then as time went on, you see that they were ratchet and they weren't really worth anything. And it's just like, as men, we need to value our seed. But I love this idea of arranging marriage. In fact, I think that's a hell of a business opportunity.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a wide open. It's more than just a matchmaking service, because you're getting men that want marriage.
Exactly.
So if you find some blacks, there's a lot of brothers that are professional in Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, Charlotte. The South is where it's at for black people right now. And if you, it's a lot of black brothers out here that would probably stand to benefit from a service like that. Because brothers, like some of these educated quote unquote lames, they'll be more than happy to have someone come along and say, "Hey, she's looking for a marriage. You're looking for marriage. You guys are pretty much 6 to 9 months." And brothers, once a brother get a good quality woman, I'm gonna tell you why I think we kind of need to be truthful with our sisters. And I know this sounds real superficial. They gonna have to figure, like, you have to get your ass in the weight room. You gonna have to lose all this weight. Brothers ain't gonna just marry a chick. Like if you go to a dating service, right, and they show you a big list of black women that are eligible, and you look at them and you're like, well, damn, I mean, I'm not physically attracted. They're not gonna get it. Some of these sisters, I personally know a guy that works at Single Atlanta up here, and I met him I was at Wet Willie's when they first opened up. I was in there drinking, right? So I sat next to him, and we got to chopping it up. Yeah, man, we laughing, joking. And he started asking me questions. I was like, I'm like, oh shit, this nigga gay? That's what I'm thinking. So I said, why are you asking? You know, because he saw I was getting kind of fit. He, oh no, man, no offense, man. I work at Single Atlanta. So he pulls his card out. He tells me, he said, man, I can't get no brothers. Most brothers don't want to come in there and talk to us. He said, man, I got a bunch of sisters that are looking for, you know, they want to get in a serious relationship. They want to, you know, they can't I can't never find any brothers that are serious. Most brothers just want to come in there and run through the women and sleep with all of them. They're not really serious for a serious relationship and stuff like that. So it's brothers out there that really are, that want that. But you got to come up with for it to be a good business opportunity, you would probably have to come up with a way to sift and find brothers that are like that. And it's hard to find a black man that don't just want to run through, you know, as many women as possible.
The thing is, I would do it with children. You know what I mean? Like I would watch. You know, the way I had a idea, like a website called Pedigree, and basically what it would be is you take like you know, you'd follow like people.
We'll talk offline. We'll talk offline, homie. Don't tell it.
Okay.
That one to yourself, though.
But I just want to kind of give just the basic premise.
Go ahead.
You know, the basic premise, we follow the kids, you know, and it'll be a parent's thing. Like, say, for instance, your kids, you'd invest in your kid's wife, or, you know, and you'd make that investment, and we'd follow the kid. And then when they got older, they get together. But the thing about it is, the way we're going to have to, what women are going to have to understand is that women don't benefit from their own sexual freedom. They lose from having sexual freedom because they oversaturate the market with free pussy. If you oversaturate the market with free pussy, men are going to take advantage of it. And it puts it puts the society as a whole at a disadvantage, because now, why should I marry you? Why should I take you serious when this chick right next door to me is going to give me everything she got, plus she's going to, you know, cook for me and look out for me for a little while, and then I can leave from you, go straight to school, go to work. I got a chick at work that's throwing it at me every single 5 seconds, and then I can go down the street. The chick at the coffee shop, she's giving me out. At the end of the day, what women have to understand is the marriage rates are going to continue to plummet, because at the end of the day, another chick willing to give it up easier, freer, less, you know, drama. Then what's going to happen is, this is the thing. Every relationship has problems, right? So what you're finding is, when those problems arise, men are like, why should I deal with the problems? Why should I, when I can, I don't have to listen to what you have to say. And women are saying it too, but I think more so men are saying, I don't have to listen to your drama because I can go get another 5 chicks, not just one. Oh, telling me that they're going to give me more than what you offering me. So women don't understand that their sexual freedom is at their own detriment.
Let me say this, man, and you in Houston, so I'm sure you can relate to this. I've met women in Atlanta that are very nice looking. Like, I'm gonna tell you a good place. You know, I'm not a stripper fanatic, but this is probably the easiest way to bring it up. You go to like I went to Onyx one time. I was talking to this chick. I went in there for a drink, right? Mm-hmm. Tall, she's real nice looking. Of course she is. She works in Onyx, right? So she's sitting there, and she was from somewhere, and she was like, well, I'm gonna move back home. I don't like it here. I said, why? I just don't like it. All these guys, they just come in here and they just that. You know, I got treated with more respect in my hometown. I think she's from Tennessee somewhere, Knoxville. So the reason I'm saying that is because if you're a beautiful woman in Atlanta, nobody gives a damn. It's kind of because it's so easy to get that type of woman. Whereas if you in a city like Montgomery or a smaller city, smaller pool of women, and you on a certain level, you bring in certain physicality to the table that you're going to get more thrown at you in that area where there's not as much competition than if you in Atlanta where you got chicks that look like you, but they a doctor. They not on a damn stripper pole. They a doctor. She's a she's a nurse, or she actually got a decent, respectful job, or she, you know. I mean,
Oh
then on
yeah,
top of that, the guy that's dating the nurse gonna be like, well, hell, I can go see a chick look just as good as her on the stripper pole. So it's kind of like, damn, I got the best of both worlds. I don't think
exactly.
I think women don't want to hear that shit, because if they hear it, then it's gonna make them have to really rein in on this feminism stuff with that Beyonce's pushing. And yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, that's what they're in, is the white supremacy. It does rear its ugly head. I know you don't like white supremacy, but I just think that when I see people right now kind of coming in and share, they see an opportunity with black women.
Oh
They
yeah.
see these black women are single, they're not married. And if you, like, this white guy came on YouTube and he just, I love black women, and this and that, and everybody had a fit. He got millions of views. I was like, I mean, damn, he a nice looking white boy, but damn, why everybody having a fit? I mean, it's black men out here that's smooth too, that are, quote unquote handsome guys, that if they made that video, they wouldn't get half a million. They wouldn't get a million views if a smooth brother came up there and put up it was up there, and he, you get, because you can tell he got his hair edged up and got a nice outfit on. He made sure he looked good before he stepped in front of the camera and said that shit. And I was like, these black girls eating this shit up. If white men make their mind up, they can come take all our damn women. And I don't like
Oh
that
yeah.
shit.
Yeah, they
I don't
could.
like it.
They
And
could
so
easily.
and these brothers these bitches ain't shit. Y'all need this. I'm like, y'all fucking it up, man. Not to say that we're not gonna ever be able to get a woman, but it's gonna be some single, lonely, masturbating ass brothers out here in a minute. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, see, the thing about it is, I think it's almost like a double-edged sword, because I'm gonna tell you why, and this is gonna be controversial, but I'm gonna tell you why I support some of the brothers who do bash women, and then I'm gonna tell you why what
It's
they
an
do
abuse
is
system.
stupid.
Go ahead.
For one, it's because the black men who are bashing them, really, when you have to bash a woman, you are basically highlighting your powerlessness. So two things are happening. Black men are saying, hey, look, I am fucking powerless. I have no control over you anymore. So the only way I can exert some form of power over you is to demean you, right?
Yes.
So you have that aspect. But the thing about it is, black women need, what black men are essentially saying, they're saying, I need to control these women because they are completely out of control. We're trying to help them, but since black men are powerless, we don't have any economic means to control them. See, if we had economic means, we wouldn't have to get on YouTube and bash them. That's why Asian men don't have to necessarily bash their women to get them to comply. White men are kind of having to bash their women because their women are getting it confused and thinking that they're kind of like in the same place where black women are, in a more subtle, subdued way. But they're kind of in that same little space where they're thinking that they're in control of stuff. But black women are completely in control, and they feel like they just don't have to listen to black men. So what black men are doing is they're trying to protect them, but black women, unfortunately, are going to perceive that as, you're bashing me, so I'm gonna just go get a white dude. I'm gonna fix all of the problems that you told me that I need to fix, and then I'm gonna go get me a white dude. And I'm all of, but what black men are really saying is, we need to control you, and you need to not. We need to get rid of this feminism so you can benefit. If black women were to be controlled, if we can control those women and take a lot of this free sex off the market, then what's going to happen is, because even like with the homosexuality piece, how we perceive it, I don't think it's really getting bigger. I think we're just seeing it more on TV. But a lot of that is because, I would say, it's because female sexuality is decreasing in value. Like, if you look at it from an economic standpoint, more supply, less demand. So if you're oversaturating the market with free coochie, then it's gonna lose value. So what's happening is things that are more scarce, like say for instance, homosexuality is more scarce in the sexual marketplace. It's increasing in value, along with women's oversaturation of sex. It's decreasing in value. You know what I mean? Because the market operates typically off of scarcity in a lot of ways. And so women ain't them in, they're hurting themselves, but they don't realize it because they're not long-term
I guess you see that principle at work when you have a beautiful woman, or just it doesn't have to be a beautiful woman. Any woman from age 12 to 62 is going to be approached every day at least 3 times a day minimum. If she's just going to the gas station, to the grocery store, she's going to be approached. If she looks good, probably 10 times a day. So if you add that up, that therein is supply and demand. She has the beauty, which is the supply, the demand is there. Or so it's kind of throughout that time frame, she's going to be approached. Whereas men, on the other hand, women, they know at any given moment, all I got to do is say, come get this pussy, and I'll have a line around the corner. So men, they don't value us as much, but they don't understand if you choose the right man. Well, I guess some sisters do get that, but I'm saying you can't just be a freak and a slut and be out here talking about feminism and I don't need a man and this and that. When in all actuality, most chicks want to be taken care of.
They do.
95% of them. Mary J. Blige had a song called "Feel Like a Woman." I don't want to compete. I don't want to, I don't want to argue. You be the man. I want to feel like a woman. I want to be protected. I want to be able to take trips. I want to raise my child and not have to focus on going and fighting at a corporate environment. That's what they want.
They do, but it's too many women out here competing on the market. And now it's getting to the point to where women are going to start having to approach guys. It's getting to that point to where women are going to have to start compete. Just like when the guy told you when he went to when he approached you with the card, what's happening is it's more females on the market looking for serious relationships than it is men. And the reason why is because the incentive for men to take women serious is decreasing rapidly because it's too many females on the market giving away sexual opportunities or even short-term relationship opportunities. I don't know. I do know how we could possibly fix it. Well, I got some ideas how we can fix it, but it's just going to be a matter if something like that can be implemented before we get to this point to where, people are just start making, a bunch of biracial babies. And then, because all it takes, man, I've seen it, man, with people that I know. All it takes is 1 or 2 generations before, and you will phenotypically not be able to tell the difference if that person is mixed with black or white at all.
White supremacy has been, if you go throughout history, that has always been their main end game. It's always been breed. It's about breeding. And they look at, well, this whole push to get black women to start messing with white men. You take a black woman away from black men, that's a woman that could have had 4 more black people.
Oh, yeah.
Now she's mixed. And because of the way power is set up in America right now, they're going to gravitate towards white America.
Oh, yeah. Especially if it's a white dude. Especially if it's
I'm gonna go into the black community. No, they're gonna go into where the power, wealth, and influence, which is with white people.
Exactly. Especially if it's a white dude. If the white male raises some biracial kids, 9 times out of 10, those biracial kids are gonna date. And if that happens, all it takes is 1 generation. Have you seen Soledad O'Brien kids?
No, I can't. Their kids are probably all the way.
Man, them kids look. You couldn't tell if you walked up to one of them kids, you would think they were just regular white kids. Blonde hair, blue eyes.
I don't even need Soledad O'Brien. I actually went to school with a guy who was mixed. His white parent, I guess he got adopted by a black family, right? Raised by a black family, but he was mixed, and he was one of the most ghetto dudes, and you know, so he got older and he was mixed. What did he do? Married a white woman. When he married the white woman, I saw him out in the malls a couple of Christmases ago, and I saw his kids. I mean, they pretty much look white because his wife is blonde. So his kids, man, are like any typical white kid you want to see. I was like,
Wow.
man, this guy, but he was raised in the hood. Like he, you know, but his wife wasn't anything like that. When I met him, he talked to her. She didn't seem, she was whitey McWhitey, as they put it. You know, she was not the ghetto, you know, certain white girls that got
Oh,
that
yeah.
ghetto. She was pretty much white. And I was like, everybody was like, man, I can't believe so and so went and did. And, you know, I'm thinking they call it tragic mulatto for a reason.
Oh, yeah. And the crazy thing is we're only 13% of the population. Think about that. So while we sitting up here thinking that, you know, because black folks used to think that we had the monopoly on, you know, all this melanin and all that. Man, look, 13% of the population. If we're mixing, all it takes is 1 to 2 generations and it will not be any black people, especially no black people that look like, probably, I don't know how you look, but how I look, it won't be any black people that look like that. I'm telling you.
Well, let me ask you this then. You were on the Mamiya Obsidian show, what was it, in December, and you were talking with those guys and they went at you, so to speak. You know, they ain't gonna say they went at you, but they were kind of like, why do I have to produce? Why do I have to get married? I don't want, you know, and what I heard was, I don't want a legacy. I don't give a damn about the black community. I don't give a damn about, because you know, and this is the way it works, man. You raise your children, be it if you're married or however whatever type of arrangement you got, you raise your children and you leave a legacy to those children. So when I take my last breath, my son is going to receive some sort of wealth, some sort of power, some sort of influence. That's why I give a damn about the black community. That's why I can't just say, when you try to do that cleanup thing, damn the black community. I don't have that. That's not in my heart. I love the black community and I accept responsibility for where it is today. And I want to make a change. I don't want to just sit here and say, well, I didn't do it. No, I don't want to point the finger at the black woman and say, well, the black woman is the reason because they took the Lyndon Baines Johnson Great Society programs. I can jump into that and get into that. That doesn't matter. Where are we today? And I made an analogy of a Best Buy or a store that you walk in and you getting bad customer service. You go talk to the manager of the store and you get bad customer service from him too. So you go up the chain and then the HR comes in or the customer service comes in and they say, well, look, man, you know, you really, you know, didn't do your job. You're the store manager. We're the managers. Black. It all comes down on whether we gonna step up as men and do what fuck we supposed to do. Excuse my French. And I don't care. Like, you can look at black society as a whole, and you can always point the finger at certain outside dynamics. It's just like, that's why I like Jason Black. You know, we need some steel steel spine, rock jaw men to stand up and take over. Not necessarily I don't want to play the blame game with black women, because yeah, I could probably point some things out that they did that was messed up, but so can we. So it comes down to, when are we going to stand up as black men and say, fuck it, I'm taking over. This is what we're going to do. I'm not going to sit here and wait and just let and be at the effect of whatever ebb and flow comes our way, but I'm going to get out here. And so when I hear guys saying, well, I don't want to have children, I don't want to get married, then shit, you don't want, you can't by it's kind of like by proxy, you're also saying fuck the black community. That's what you're saying. I know they don't like that, because that's not the popular, most people. No, I'm not saying that I care. I just don't want to deal with all the mess. Like, I understand that, but shit, how we gonna change if you call yourself a quality brother, you educated? And a lot of these brothers are intelligent, brilliant brothers. But that to me sounds like, what I hear is excuses, and I'm afraid to fight. I'm afraid to get in there and get inside and get dirty and get into the rigmarole.
Yeah, absolutely right. You know, and that brings me to the points, is that, you know, for one, you have apathy. Black men, I feel like, are defeated. And, you know, and it all ties into that. This is another reason why I hate this white supremacy term. Whether it exists or don't exist, people believe it or however they want to believe it. Deal is what it fosters is it what it does is it champions the defeat. When you say white supremacy, you're saying black inferiority by proxy. Like, you can't say white supremacy and not say black inferiority at the same time. Those things, they, you know, you have to have if in order for somebody to be supreme, you have to have somebody that they conquer. And typically what you're saying is black inferiority at the same time. And my problem with that is we're conditioning people and our children to believe automatically that they're inferior, automatically that they're second best, or not best at all. They're at the bottom. And what that does is it fosters a sense of apathy over time. It fosters a sense of complacency. It decreases your ability to have a true desire to fight. That's why when I listen to a lot of these pro-blacks, they're not talking about real empowerment. Real empowerment is Steve Harvey going to meet with Donald Trump. Black folks don't really want true change when you think about it. What we really want is to be able to bitch and have an emotional escapism fest where we all sit around and talk about woe is me and how much of a victim I am and how superior white folks are to us by screaming white supremacy over and over again, and how inferior we are by screaming white supremacy over and over again. So look at the dynamics, you know, because like I'm sure that Trump is going to initiate some type of initiative to go in and challenge some of these inner cities, which is desperately needed. This is desperately needed. And the people who are perpetrating most of these crimes don't need to be on the streets. But what black folks are going to do is we're going to cry in the midst of somebody trying to come in, and because you can't have economic growth and stability same time. These things are diametrically opposed to each other. If you have economic growth and crime at the same time, it will stifle economic growth. Because
I mean, you're right, man. Because as a real estate guy, I'm actually just now getting back in. I'm flipping houses again. There are certain houses. There was a quadruplex I saw for $16,000, wow. And I looked at it and I went in there. Every time I pulled up, it's a bunch of them like Thundercats outside. They mean mugging me. They looking at me like they want to fight. As soon as I pull up, I hadn't said nothing. I go in the house and I'm looking. I'm like, this is a good deal, you know. Mm-hmm. But I knew the instant I walked up, when I turned the corner and saw them outside, I said, I can't buy this. Them niggas out there, they standing out there, they looking like they want to fight. They probably selling dope. That means crack addicts coming in and out of here. Niggas like that get on my last nerve because they hold us back, but then they'll say it's not my fault.
Oh yeah, and black folks protect them. That's the irony. Black folks.
Yeah, see them real niggas there. See them some real niggas, you know.
Yeah, black folks protect them because the thing about it is, you know, black folks cater. We have what I like to call regressive cultural adaptation. Where most progressive cultures have a more progressive cultural adaptation, and where they defer to the smartest people in the room to control and control and give the kind of the orders for the next generation and to control the resources and to make the biggest decisions. Black folks are not like that. We defer to the weakest link to make the biggest decision. Like when you have black folks who will vote Democrat because they care about the welfare of Keisha. You understand what I'm saying? They're thinking about Keisha instead of trying to make Keisha step her game up.
Hold on, now Keisha only makes up about what? How much percent? 25%?
Yeah.
So you got 70. I know people making 170, 160. They're IT developers. They worried about, and their main issue during the election was welfare, food stamps, and Section 8.
Wow.
And I'm like, damn, man, ain't you trying to start a business? Ain't you trying to get some government contracts and start doing some certain things with Why wouldn't you want to do an SBA program? Why wouldn't that be your main issue?
Exactly.
You make, because we come to the table as Black people, when we come to politics, and I did a video called Political Atheists. And we come to politics as men who are basically defeated. And we come with this mindset of, well, I'm not at the top of the food chain, but just give me the scraps off the table. Instead of saying, well, damn, I always said, if you're going to be a Democrat, get them to come with some real, get them to come with some real empowerment.
They're not going to come with real empowerment.
I know. I could see us being loyal to Democrats if Democrats were saying, okay, we're going to give you businesses, we're going to give you reparations, we're going to give you precious metals, we're going to give you land, we're going to give. Then I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I can see it.
That'll never happen.
But if you study Niccolo Machiavelli, and you understand who Machiavelli is, and you understand the principles that he taught, and these are the people who they got. This is the guy who they got statues of and tapestries in Washington about Niccolo Machiavelli, the prince, and how and you understand that, then you understand where they're coming from and how they operate. Then you know how to play the game. But you gotta, if you say Machiavelli, they think I'm talking about Tupac. So
exactly. I don't think the Democrats Democrats are what I call the losers party, in my opinion. And at the end of the day, and I'm not like some hardcore Republican either, because I do tend to lean more conservative in my values and my personal values.
Bro, I get you. You don't even have to defend that, bro. Trust me. I used to be a hardcore Republican. I'll admit it. I was cart carrying Republican. I have been there, and I came out of that because I saw that they weren't really catering. I'm like, man, these guys could really come and get the Black vote if they just come to the table with some real substantive program. This is the first time that a Republican is doing something. They hate his ass. The Republicans hate Trump. I always say right now, Black people are in a damn good position. If we can get over our emotion, we could probably stand to get something with a real businessman in the White House than another damn, if we'd have got Rick Santorum or somebody, we would get ignored.
We would get ignored. We wouldn't even be in the conversation. You know what I mean? And Trump, I think I honestly believe Trump has a real desire to want to help Black folk. Because what Trump understands is he understands the legacy of America. He understands that Black folks bled, fought, cried in every single American war that ever was. We built this country with our hands. That's why when Black folk get on this, I ain't American. I'm like, what are you talking about? Do you understand that Black folk built this? We have more birthright to this country than white folk, in my opinion, because we not listen to this. We were slaves in this country fighting in wars.
Yeah.
We were fighting for the freedoms of this country when Jim Crow laws. Understand how we have fought harder than, from my opinion, than any other ethnicity. Because at least when white folks fought for freedoms, they were fighting their own economic wealth and well-being. You know what I'm saying? We were fighting and coming back to harsher conditions many times than we experienced even in these other countries.
Can I really add something, man? And this is something that I feel that really the real secret of American history is not slavery, because that's not a secret. The real secret is that there were almost 2,000 towns across this nation because when you hear the word sundown towns, a lot of people have heard about it. They think, oh, that just means that you couldn't be there because they didn't like us. That's some real rudimentary and simplistic way of looking at it. That's not what a sundown town is really about. Sundown towns, if you go back like this Red Summer of 1919, they burned 40 Black cities, right? Mm-hmm. In those cities, if right now, if we start a fire, if I say, okay, I'm finna riot, and I'm in Buckhead, Atlanta, right? Where do you think I'm going? I'm going to Lenox Mall. I'm gonna kick that damn door in. I'm gonna go up there. I'm gonna get me some suits. I'm talking about I'm getting the $2,000 stuff. I'm going in the Saks Fifth Avenue. I'm going to get some of the cologne. I'm going to get that good stuff. When it came back in 1919, you're going to riot against somebody, right? And a lot of these people that did these riots in 1919 had just got off the boat from Ellis Island. So when I hear these people talk about, well, my grandfather didn't own slaves, your grandfather either indirectly or directly benefited from the creation of sundown towns, the vacuum that was created in the market. Because if I'm black, and I heard Henry Louis Gates, he has a documentary on Netflix where they killed a guy. Guy was in Memphis, right? He had a store, and his mom and pop store was outselling the white guy's store. So the white guy didn't like it. So the white guy went and got a mob. The black guys came out and had shotguns and defended, and they had a little shootout. They didn't really get away with it. They go get a bigger mob and come back, drag the owner of the store to the jail, but the sheriff got him in the jail cell. Of course, you know the story. They come out, the mob gets bigger. Now it's about 12,000 people. They want him hanged. Well, of course, they get him and drag him out. The women, white women, grab him, putting ropes around his neck, dragging his ass, burning him. Then they took, and they say his last word was, "Tell my family to go out west because there's no hope for a black man in this town." Now that was Memphis. That when you do stuff like that in 2,000 towns across the nation, you create a vacuum whereby you cannot have wealth. If you go back and look at the census of 1890, during the Reconstruction period, black people weren't really, the roles of the Ku Klux Klan wasn't as high. It was after the Civil War. Everybody was patriotic. They didn't really pick on black people during Reconstruction, and we made great leaps and bounds in like 25 years. That's why when Booker T. Washington gave his speech at the Atlanta Compromise, first few sentences, he was like, "Hey, we were trying to reach further than because we had already jumped up so high and done a lot of great things. If you go run land and run the deed and run a 150-year deed on land when you buy it, you'll see it was owned by former slaves. A lot of land was. And then in 1890, there was this big persecution that broke out. And ever since that point, up until like the 60s and even to this day, certain cities, they're not running after black businesses. But that's what sundown towns were about. That's what race riots were about. Stopping black people from conducting businesses and having banks because we didn't have an FDIC at that time. There's a lot of wealth that was lost. It's not, so when you look at black people today, it's not that we're just lazy. It's not that we're not productive. But you got to add that and factor that into over the last 150 years. You have to factor in what it would be if every time you start a business and a white mob comes with some torches and hang your ass or run your family out and come take your supplies and take that stuff and put it in their pocket. And now they conduct business because you're gone. They're the only game in town, even if they are foreign, even if they are from Germany or wherever. These people benefited from this. So I can see why they ran black people on.
Oh yeah, and and it's crazy because it's like I even a lot of people talk about the success. Man, I was reading which book it was, but it was probably one of the Thomas Sowell books, and he was talking about how many leaps and how well black folks were doing, how fast we were learning how to read. I mean, we were learning how to read so fast in that little time during Reconstruction, from 1890 all the way up to like the 20s. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like amazing, all of the different strides that we made. Many of our schools were IQ-wise on par with white schools. You know what I'm saying?
Dunbar High School.
Dunbar High School, man. And we had plenty others that was doing pretty good. And of course you still had some of the slaves that, in the South that weren't as competitive. But at the end of the day, the South wasn't competitive anyways. Not the whites weren't as smart in the South in that time. So
a lot of the HBCUs were in the South so a lot of brothers in the South were like, if you go look at those Supreme Court cases, and there was some real sharp brothers coming up out of Morehouse, Tuskegee, these black
cops. And I think about it, and it also, listen, this is my whole theory on how the IQ of whites increased. I think a lot of it was because they come from a harsh land. So in a harsh environment, only the strong, the most smart will be able to survive. And I think that even during slavery, I think only the smart, the most strong were able to survive as well. Now they probably didn't select as much for IQ, but I would imagine that the people who were most, I would say, at least emotionally IQ enough, had a high enough emotional IQ to to kind of deal with the different dynamics that was going on. I would think that that was probably a more hardier group of black folk. Um, and and if you juxtapose that to like past the 1960s, I think right now we're starting to regressively breed. I think we're going to get to a point to where we're going to be creating let people who are less and less equipped to deal with the economic pressures of tomorrow. I think
Have you ever
because we're
read the real name of the book Origin of Species?
I haven't read the book, but I have the book. I
Well,
have the
the real title. Do you know the real name of it?
Origin of Species, Charles Darwin.
Yeah, the name of that book is Racist. It's basically saying this is something basically about race, the superior race, and their struggle to survive, or something basically saying that basically we're inferior. Basically, in so many words, that's what he was trying to prove.
Yeah.
Because even though he had an accounting degree, that's
Yeah, I don't listen. I think that whites probably got a higher IQ because if you read, I read a book called The History of White Folk. And what you find in their history is, for one, groups were higher IQ and the higher thinkers. For one, you only had a few. You had the Romans, and then the Romans conquered other groups. And then when they conquered, of course, they interbred, and then they create.
you there? Hello, hello, hello.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear
Hello?
me? Yeah,
I can hear you. Yeah, I don't know
yeah,
what happened, man. But
yeah.
where did I end? Where did I get cut off at?
You were talking about the breeding, man, and it just kind of I lost you. But let me tell you
Yeah.
something. That breeding thing really does concern me. It is something that I feel like we as a people need to be careful, because it's kind of something that we're going to lose. We can lose in our population, our numbers. We'll basically be wiped off the face of the map in America, and it'll be a pretty much. They've already done it. They did it with the Aborigines in Australia.
Oh yeah.
They
Oh yeah.
they killed a lot of Aborigines, but they also just bred them out of existence. They don't exist in Australia, and they killed off all the Tasmanians. Pretty much physically killed them. So they're very good at wiping people
Oh
off.
yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, you can interbreed with Hispanics and things like that and keep your numbers up. But I don't know, man. It's kind of sad, but therein, I mean, the best point you made was that earlier. I think we're very like straight on. You know, when it comes to strategy with black people, it's real simple, straightforward. We don't veer to the left, to the right. No strategy, just straight, dead on, just like they fought in the Civil War. You know, meet in the middle of a field and just shoot each other. You know, we don't think, well, maybe it's not intelligent. Like, you know, O'Shea made a video where he was saying it's probably not intelligent for me for you talking about Umar Johnson. He was just saying it's probably not intelligent to go out and all got the country where you think they didn't ask them to let you just start a school. You think they're gonna allow you to start a school, but you calling them you talking about basically almost warlike, you stumping these war drums almost. And every white person, he said Booker T. Washington got his school because he was smart.
Exactly.
You know, he went and got the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, William H. Taft, and all these different people to come in and throw some funds his way.
Exactly. And
Which is what we need to do with Trump.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, all that rah-rah talk, it means nothing. All of that old, black, blackity black, all that, none of that stuff means nothing, man. Nobody's scared of that, man.
I mean,
Like,
that's what happened with Corrin Gaines, man, when they killed her. I mean, and that, that whole little situation, she had that rah-rah talk. And everybody's like, well, it's a shame the sisters got to fight the wars for the men. I'm like, I don't think that's what that was, man. Corrin Gaines was a good example.
If you're going to go to war, for one, it's not going to be won right now. Black folks have no guns. We don't manufacture guns. We don't manufacture bullets. We don't know how to hunt, most of us. You know what I'm saying?
We don't know how to fish.
We don't know how to fish. I mean, come on, man. And black folks are talking about war. See, this is what I'm saying when you talk about this rah-rah emotional escapism. It's like it's a fantasy. Like we want to go into a little fantasy. And it's kind of like when black folks go to church, they hoop and holler, they jump, they run around, they cry, they do all this. And then back on Monday, they cussing folk out and they back at their regular job and they dealing with the same old stuff again. That's what I hear when I hear people like the Corrin Gaines, when I hear people like the Umar Johnsons, and they talking crack of this and crack of that, white KKK this. It's just talk, man. And the funny thing is, like I was going to tell you, if we ever had a revolution, it's not going to be the pro-blacks. It's going to be the people that they call the coons that are going to save Black America. It's not going to be those people with the rah-rah talk. Those people are going to be sitting somewhere, hiding somewhere. Because if you got all that rah-rah talk, why are you in America?
You know what? I'm going to tell you something, man. I got a friend of mine, right? Love him to death, man. Me and him played ball together. Cool dude. He was actually like an All-American, played D1 and stuff. And we were talking. And he calls himself super conscious. Like he called me, he said, man, you at level 5. I'm at level 10. That's what he says, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never started a business. But he would like to, but he kind of lived vicariously through me. He don't really do nothing. He always talking about what he gonna do,
Mm-hmm.
Here we are finna be, we gonna be damn old and gray. He ain't gonna ever even started nothing, never tried nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he tells me he's super conscious because he follows the John Henry Clark, and he, you still go to church, and you think you can get along with white people, man. You think, see, I hate them. If it was up to me, I wouldn't see them. I said, okay, well, yeah, but that ain't gonna change. The clothes you got on, they manufacture. The car you driving, they made. The gas in your tank that you put in your tank, they dug it up out the ground and refined it. Everything about you is white. What makes you more conscious than me? He got mad. I said, well, how are you more conscious than me? I done started business. I've employed up to 27 brothers at one time. What have you done that makes you more conscious? Because conscious is a botanical term, and it means it refers to responding to stimuli. So how are you responding to the stimuli of white supremacy? If what makes you more deep? Your Facebook post?
That's all it is. That's all it is. And
there's no net benefit, man. You're not really like, that's the thing. I'm like, a lot of these guys, I get tired of it. I made a video about that, about hotels get on my last nerves. Like because they'll tag you with these posts on Christmas Day. I'm like, this is my son's first Christmas. I don't want to hear nothing about no Christmas tree. Don't be tagging me. But don't do that. Leave me alone. You feel me?
Yeah. But when it comes down to doing anything, those are not going to be the guys that's going to be picking up no swords and no guns. I'm telling you, they are not going to be the ones. They're going to be the ones that want to talk about it. They're going to want to do the pep rally. And when it comes down to getting out there with the gun and that metal, it's going to be the dudes that they quote unquote want to call coons or less conscious. I'm telling you, it's going to be the regular guys that will get out there. It's not going to be those rabble rousers. They're not going to be there. They're not. They're going to want to talk about it. They love to talk about it. But, I mean, look at Umar Johnson, man. This guy's not living what he's saying, man. He's not living the lifestyle that he talks about. You know what I mean? He's a walking contradiction.
That was the thing. When that scandal popped off, I hate to admit this, I was so glad to see that. Because, first of all, well, not the scandal, but this last little situation. Because I liked Umar Johnson at first. I will admit, I liked the brother. He was well spoken. He was articulate, but he was speaking a lot of regurgitated information that I hadn't heard of yet. I'm just being straight up. I hadn't read those books he had read, and when he got into it with that stripper, I changed because she brought out all the books. She said, these are the books he was quoting from. That's all he's reading. And she started regurgitating the same stuff that he was saying. I was like, dang, I thought this brother was saying some new information because I don't study that stuff,
Oh yeah.
And when that happened, I just lost respect for the brother, and I lost respect for a lot of hoteps because me being a believer, in the church and stuff, they'll be like, well, y'all pastors this and y'all pastors that. I was like, wait a minute, how you gonna still support a guy who said he was celibate, who says he's going to be out here teaching young men how to be men, yet he's lascivious. He's out here sleeping with any and every woman he sees. And you don't have a problem with that, but then you'll turn around and dog out the pastor who does the exact same thing. He has a building fund that he's trying to do. Exact same. It is carbon copy. But
my thing was,
I'm like, how could you co-sign that?
Yeah. And my thing too was the school. He took all his money, and it's like, okay, you don't get that school, but start somewhere.
I think he's now lately he's starting to say he's looking at other places. Look, I would have did that when I first got my first 200,000. That school would have been open. But let's be honest. Do we really want him to open? I don't want him to open the school. He's not fit to do it.
Exactly.
He's not fit. If you up him dropping a diss video, like almost like a mixtape or something, you sit up there for 45 cussing and I'm gonna be in your city, family. What's up? I'm like, you finna go to this dude. See, this dude is homegrown from Detroit. And you think you finna go in Detroit from Philly, and you think you finna be up there talking greasy up in there. You could have got yourself killed.
Mm-hmm.
People in Detroit will kill you.
Oh yeah.
What do you think?
It's insane, man. And it just goes to show, man, all of those dudes that got all these great rabble rousing speeches, them guys ain't finna build nothing, man. I'm telling you. They not
Man,
gonna do nothing. They're not
I
gonna burst a
actually
grape.
discovered lately that even some of the great quote unquote teachers that they have were frauds.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, because when you know scholarship, I just got my bachelor's. That's all I did. I didn't go any further. But I actually have friends that still in school, and they told me some stuff. One of them put me up on some stuff as far as what makes a guy really a legitimate scholar and a real, and if you have information and you're not willing to put it out to be vetted, then that is pretty much a telltale sign that you really are just it's pseudo archaeology.
Yeah, it's
Pseudo
pseudoscience. You know,
you
especially
just
when they get to talk, especially when they get to talking about this Mayat and
man, tell me about it.
Kemet, and I'm like, man, this is just a religion that
You
you
know what? Let me
believe.
tell you something. That's regurgitated New Ageism from white people. They just put their name on it. That's it.
Wow, I don't doubt it.
When you get into Madame Blavatsky and Gerald Massey, and these people are quoting verbatim from these people, man, from these white people, and they don't want to tell you that, but I can send you videos on YouTube. I can send you the clip of like certain stuff, and you'd be like, wow, that's where they got it from. And this stuff is from the 1800s, some of it, and these people are getting this stuff and mixing us. And well, it was really ours, and they went and did this and did that. Most of the stuff that they tell you is regurgitated from the Greeks. The Greeks are the ones when they conquered. Well, they didn't when they conquered the Persians. Part of the empire was Egypt. So they did. That's why they didn't have to conquer Egypt, but they don't know that. They think they know the history. They don't. When they conquered Persia, Persia had already conquered Egypt, so they were already in there. The Persians was in there before the Greeks got in there.
Wow.
But the Greeks, a lot of this stuff that they're saying, these names, and they're trying to give you Greek interpretations of like Amun-Ra's real name is Yaman. It's not Amun-Ra. So it's a lot of craziness, man. It's just, to me, it don't really mean nothing, because at the end of the day, it's more so about building. What are you gonna do to build, and what are you gonna do when you leave this earth? Because right now, those people lived 10,000 years ago. They believed in Ma'at and Thoth, but they built the pyramids. We can see their legacy, whether or not they were telling the truth. We can see what they did.
Exactly.
You want to lay claim to the ancestors. If you were to reincarnate these people and bring them back, they would spit on these brothers right here calling themselves hotels. Because they'll be like, you have no relation to me. We were about action.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, man, it's like if black folks don't get intentional about success and wealth building, we're finished anyway. I don't care. Right now, we don't need history. I'm not saying that history is not bad, you know what I mean? History is good to know, but I think it's an elective. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's like an elective at this point in our stage of development. I think what we need is wealth building. We need control of our family. Matter of fact, I think we need control of our families first. If we don't get that, it don't matter how much wealth we build. I mean, look at Michael Jackson. I mean, his wealth is.
Hold on, let me ask you this. You're right. Michael Jackson's a terrible example. I'm really disappointed in Mike, but
his money's gonna go to some white kids, man. I
respect him, but his mental issues really destroyed his legacy. That's what now your money's going to. First of all, those white lawyers sold your legacy, man. You had that Sony catalog, you gave it to the white lawyers instead of your family.
He's not the only one, though. He's not the only one that's kind of stuff is happening to. Black legacies are going back to white hands. A lot of these celebrities, man, a lot of their money is going right back to white folk. And it's sad.
Even Oprah, man. When Oprah passed, where's that money going?
I don't know. I hope it goes. I hope it goes.
That's why I respect Prince. Prince actually gave his rights before he died for his streaming service to Tidal, which is mostly now majority owned by Jay-Z.
Oh yeah.
Prince understood the game.
Oh yeah.
So I respect Prince, and that's why Prince didn't rock with a lot of these new artists. He never really respected a lot of these new artists. He didn't.
I wonder. I think Oprah's a little woke. I think Oprah's a lot more woke than most people think. I wouldn't doubt if Oprah sends her legacy. She may send it to Africa though. Honestly, I think she may send her money to Africa or something like that. I would hope that she'd send it to some HBCUs. I know that Bill Cosby sent it, man. Bill Cosby sent it. You know, it's the irony. Bill Cosby sent a ton of folk to school. You know, and it's so and black folks call him a coon. Bill Cosby has done more for black folks.
Go back and look at what Bill said though. Like all Bill said was like, just, you know, we need to be more responsible. We need to be more responsible and things of that nature. Could you hold 1 second?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, my little man and woke up, man. I'm gonna probably have to chop it up.
Yeah, I already understand.
We'll probably get it up another weekday next week or something, man. I send you another message, man. We'll probably get another subject. But I enjoyed this, bro.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure.
All right, I'm gonna put the video up and I'll send you the link. You'll put it up on your channel.
Sound good.
You only got no subscribers.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. I appreciate it.
For sure.
All right. Okay.